Special Counsel Jack Smith filed what I believe to be his most powerful filing yet in federal court. This was filed in the Washington, D.C. federal criminal prosecution where Donald Trump has been indicted for trying to overthrow the results of the 2020 election. This is an opposition filing by Special Counsel Jack Smith. This is the government's omnibus opposition to defendants' motion to dismiss the indictment on statutory and constitutional grounds. Donald Trump's tactic is to try to bifurcate, trifurcate, or make as many different motions to dismiss as you can, and then try to have interlocutory appeals on all of his motions to dismiss to try to delay this trial, which is scheduled for March of 2024. Judge Tanya Chutkan, the judge presiding over the matter, is already talking about jury questionnaires being submitted by February to prospective jurors. She's keeping the train on the track, as Special Counsel Jack Smith is as well. Donald Trump's trying to do everything in his power to derail it. So one of the things here Special Counsel Jack Smith is doing, while Donald Trump's trying to subdivide all of his motions into these various filings, Jack Smith is making this omnibus filing. When I read this intro by Special Counsel Jack Smith, it really kind of left me speechless. I want to share it with you right now. Here's what Special Counsel Jack Smith writes. He goes, "The indictment in this case charges the defendant, then the president, with perpetrating an unprecedented campaign of deceit to attack the very functioning of the federal government to collect, count, and certify votes, to obstruct the January 6th congressional proceeding at which the election results are certified, and to disenfranchise millions of voters, all in a concerted criminal effort to overturn the presidential election results and prevent the lawful transfer of power to his successor. Because the defendant cannot mount meritorious challenges to the charges against him, his motion to dismiss the indictment on constitutional and statutory grounds — by the way, Trump tried to file those as separate motions. Here, Special Counsel Jack Smith is filing an omnibus opposition to both. He says the grounds that Trump's rely instead on distortions and misrepresentations. The defendant attempts to rewrite the indictment, claiming that it charges him with wholly innocuous, perhaps even admirable conduct, sharing his opinions about election fraud and seeking election integrity, when in fact it clearly describes the defendant's fraudulent use of knowingly false statements as weapons in furtherance of his criminal plans. The defendant's motions cite cases that, upon examination, undermine his arguments rather than support them, and he improperly challenges the government's anticipated trial evidence at this stage. The defendant also claims that he cannot have known his actions were criminal because, in the past, others who have questioned, challenged, or protested election results were not prosecuted. But the defendant, listen to this right here, but the defendant stands alone in American history for his alleged crimes. No other president has engaged in conspiracy and obstruction to overturn valid election results and illegitimately retain power. The indictment squarely charges the defendant for this conduct, and the defendant's constitutional and statutory challenges to it are meritless. The defendant's motions should be denied. And I like the strategy here by Special Counsel Jack Smith to bring this as an omnibus motion right here. One of the great analogies that Special Counsel Jack Smith makes is that, and we've said this before actually here on the MeidasTouch network, you probably know if you've been watching this, we're like, what Donald Trump is arguing is that bank robbers should not be charged with coming up with the plan to rob the bank if ultimately they are unsuccessful in their robbery. Donald Trump's arguments are because he wasn't able to, or that there was no consequence of the fact that the government was overturned, there can't be a conspiracy. That is completely without merit, and Special Counsel Jack Smith points that out. Special Counsel Jack Smith says, look, to the extent that defendant Donald Trump argues that he cannot be held responsible because no one would have relied on his assertions of fraud, he is wrong. Lack of success provides no defense to a charge of conspiracy to defraud, much less any basis to dismiss the charge. Quote, the law of conspiracy identifies the agreement to engage in a criminal venture as an event of sufficient threat to social order to permit the imposition of criminal sanctions for the agreement alone, plus an overt act in pursuit of it. United States v. Fiola, Hornbook law, regardless of whether the object of the conspiracy be achieved. Here's where Special Counsel Jack Smith says what I said before. Were it otherwise, defendants captured en route to a bank robbery could not be charged with conspiracy because their crime did not succeed. Indeed, a conspiracy can be committed even if the object of the conspiracy is unattainable.
Did you know that your temperature at night can have one of the greatest impacts on your sleep quality? If you wake up too hot or too cold, I highly recommend you check out Miracle Made's bed sheets. Inspired by NASA, Miracle Made uses silver-infused fabrics and makes temperature-regulating bedding so you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. Using silver-infused fabrics inspired by NASA, Miracle Made sheets are thermoregulating and designed to keep you at the perfect temperature all night long, so you get better sleep every night. These sheets are infused with silver that prevent up to 99.7% of bacterial growth, leaving them to stay cleaner and fresh 3 times longer than other sheets. No more gross odors. Miracle sheets are luxuriously comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands and feel as nice, if not nicer, than sheets used by some 5-star hotels. Miracle sheets are the perfect gift for your spouse, friends, or family who doesn't want better sleep and luxurious feeling bed sheets. And since these come with 3 free towels, you get 2 gifts in one, just in time for the holidays. Stop sleeping on bacteria. Bacteria can clog your pores, causing breakouts and acne. Sleep clean with Miracle. Go to trymiracle.com/legalaf to try it today or gift it to someone special this holiday season. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Save over 40%. And if you use our promo LegalAF at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/legalaf and use the code LegalAF to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/legalaf to treat yourself, a friend, or loved one this holiday season.
Then Special Counsel Jack Smith explains, look, the defendant also asserts that his statements were not deceptive because he genuinely believed the election was stolen, right? You've heard Donald Trump say that it was my belief. I believe this. I believe that. What Jack Smith says, but this too raises a matter for trial. This is a matter for trial, not on a motion to dismiss. But moreover, even if the defendant, Donald Trump, could supply admissible evidence of his own personal belief that the election was, quote, rigged or stolen, it would not license him to deploy fraud and deceit to remedy what he perceived to be wrong, and it would not provide a defense to the charge. Even where a defendant uses deceit to obstruct government functions that he thought were unconstitutional, the Supreme Court has made clear that, quote, a claim of unconstitutionality will not be heard to excuse a voluntary, deliberate, and calculated course of fraud and deceit. And then I think what was also just as powerful by Special Counsel Jack Smith is talking about Donald Trump's bogus First Amendment defense that Donald Trump tries to make. And what I like about the way Special Counsel Jack Smith argues, and this is the type of lawyers that I admire, They concede certain things and say, look, if this were the case, I agree, but this is not the case because of this. Let's focus on the facts. Let's talk about these things that Donald Trump's lawyers are saying, but they're inapplicable to the facts here. Watch what I'm referring to here. Special Counsel Jack Smith says, the charges in the indictment do not criminalize protected speech. As the indictment recognizes, Special Counsel Jack Smith says, the defendant, quote, had a right, like every American, to speak publicly about the 2020 presidential election, and even to claim falsely that there had been outcome determinative fraud during the election and that he had won. Had the defendant done no more, his statements pertaining to political matters of public importance would have remained protected under the First Amendment, even if false. Think about what Special Counsel Jack Smith's conceding. Donald Trump, at that time, he could have lied. He could have lied. He could have said false things alone. But this case, it would have been horrific. It would have certainly been a dereliction of his duty, of his constitutional duty, but he did something more. But the defendant did not stop there, Special Counsel Jack Smith says. He instead made dozens of specific claims that there had been substantial fraud in certain states, such as that large numbers of dead, non-resident, non-citizen, or otherwise ineligible voters had cast ballots, or that voting machines had changed votes for the defendant to votes for Biden. He falsely stated, for example, that more than 10,300 dead people had voted in Georgia. Those were factual claims that were verifiably false, and that defendant knew they were false. The defendant then used those lies as the instruments of his 4 criminal offenses. That's the key. That then he weaponized the lies to then engage in the criminal conduct and the conspiracies for which he is indicted on. It wasn't that he was just spewing a bunch of nonsense. He then used the nonsense to then engage in conduct, to engage in an act, to engage in a crime, to try to overthrow our democracy. And that's where he crossed the line from despicable speech, but nonetheless protected speech, into criminality. And that's what this is about, these overt acts that he then took to try to undermine and overthrow and topple our democracy. And so I like that Special Counsel Jack Smith addressed it there, and his whole strategy here of combining this omnibus opposition, strategically a brilliant move to try to combine what Donald Trump tried to intentionally separate, so that Donald Trump's going to try to file all of these various, try to bring them all up to the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals separately. What I think Judge Eileen Cannon's going to do, because she recognizes what the games Donald Trump's playing, I think her order should be an omnibus order that combines all of Donald Trump's motions in one order. The hard part is that all of these are filed in different times. So frankly, it's just a lot of work for her to have to do. But that's where I think that she should do. I think she will do. And I think she'll try to combine them as one. So they really all just go to the Court of Appeals, I think, in one order that Donald Trump will try to appeal versus 4 separate orders, which is Donald Trump's plan. But let me know what you think in the comments. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 2 million subscribers here at the MeidasTouch Network, thanks to your support. Also, you can check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch, and have a great day.
Hey, Meidas Mighty. Love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.